You did it.
I thought I was lost.
Welcome.
It was all dark. Kiitos.
It is 10 minutes to 3 in Helsinki, right after Christmas, and it's already getting dark. That's why we have the candles in the background. This is Algorytmi. I'm Rantala, and I'm asking you to do a small favor to me. You who are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe the channel. You will get a notification whenever there's a new episode. That will be every second Saturday. And please leave a comment, leave a request of a guest or a topic you might want to be interested in. And that would be nice. So could you do that? Or you can also recommend this to your friends who are interested in music, art, life, whatever. If you are a Spotify listener, I think you can also subscribe and leave a comment. Please do that. Welcome, Mackenzie, Melemed.
Hello, Ian.
Hello, and Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So good to see you.
Great to be here.
Yeah. This is, I believe this is the third English episode of Algorytmi, and you are the first native English speaking guest. And the new twist of the podcast is that I ask every guest to bring one or two their favorite pieces or something which is so phenomenal in the art of music or any other genre that this piece of art should be kind of opened up. So this is what we're going to do first. And in the end of the episode, you'll hear more about Mackenzie. So you brought, your first choice is by Franz Liszt. And this is a new piece for me. I started listening it yesterday. How do you say it? How is your French?
Funerailles.
Funerailles.
I actually studied 7 years of French before trying Finnish. Didn't help much. But.
I had a flu when they taught French in school. I couldn't make it. Tell me all about this piece. Composed 1849, it says in the sheet music. Very interesting piece of music.
Yeah, it's part of 10. What is it? Harmonies, religious and poetic harmonies, a set of 10 pieces that he wrote. This one, as well as the last one, Benediction de Dieu dans la solitude, they're two of the kind of the most favorites, most beloved, most famous works from this set. But the Funerailles was a work that he wrote after the kind of Hungarian Revolution, which happened in 1848, and I guess technically he would have kind of had to go and serve there, but he opted out of it. And many of his friends and comrades and close people to him had died in that uprising. And I think this kind of elegy was feeling a little bit of guilt and very, very, of course, sorrowful. So this is just a funeral march and a very touching one. I think we do get this huge climax in the end, but mostly I think it's really one of Liszt's most intimate and kind of not all about the acrobatics and the fireworks, but it's really deep.
Do we know who died? Is this for a specific funeral?
I think there were just many. It wasn't dedicated to a single person.
Okay.
But this work, it starts with these bells, and it's a little bit awkward because to think about how it starts in forte, mezzo forte, and then crescendos for 2 pages over about 2 minutes. Yeah. You go from mezzo forte to fortissimo, like this unbelievable crescendo. It's very hard to make it because you have to have this 9-tier system where you're kind of going up and then coming back down and going up and creating this. And for me, learning this actually started at the first week of Juilliard. So this was kind of my first project.
Yeah.
And I loved playing this piece. And it's grown with me. I've played it for about 12 years.
Okay. Bar 10, where you have this tremolo with the left hand, and then you have the chord, the low chord. Do you play that on a left or a right hand? So
I play everything written in left hand on left hand. So
okay. Okay. Yeah. So you stop the tremolo for a while, and
and the downbeat is written sforzando, and then I assume there's this hairpin going the whole time. So but actually sometimes I vary it a little bit. So the sforzando and tremolo, I sometimes will go drum, and then sometimes it's drum. So it just depends on the accent.
Yeah.
But also I play it differently every single time I play it, and I think that just even if I start slightly quicker or slightly a little bit under the tempo that I have in mind, it kind of changes everything. But there are so many ways that you can pull this off. The effect that when it comes to this bum, the trumpets da 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 dum.
That's right.
And that's triple. Fortissimo, marcatissimo.
Yeah.
And by that time, if someone is a little bit sensitive to sound, they might have already left the concert hall.
Yeah, one note and 3 fortes.
Yeah,
that's and then at least in my sheet music it says that middle finger da 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 da. Do you have that?
Yeah, I have all middle fingers. Yeah.
So don't change your finger there.
I think I might do sometimes 2 in the left hand and 3 in the right hand. So it's just
you're a rebel.
Yeah,
you're a rebel. Am I right saying that these harmonies like bar 5 or bar 9 quite modern even for Franz Liszt?
They don't follow any kind of specific pattern. Usually, if he's going to do some of his fireworks, I think they're everything's diminished or everything's augmented. But here we have it's dirty as well because the left hand is so muddy.
Yeah.
And there's no clarity. And so I think it actually helps that we have this, E flat chord, and then we have D, E and E flat, D, E flat and B flat, and then we have another with the B natural with the E flat and the G sharp. That's it's supposed to be grotesque, I think, and it grows out of this into a theme that is equally dark, but maybe a little bit more standard in terms of what we hear in the main theme.
There's a lunga pausa, which raises the question, how long? Everybody can take their chances.
Depends on who's coughing.
Who's coughing? Yeah. That's the coughing pause, definitely. And after these quite modern and wild harmonies, the funeral march, the left-hand theme is just plain beautiful. It really is very touching. In F minor, going to A major quite soon, or F sharp minor. Really, really nice.
One thing I do a lot is because this theme comes back countless times. You can count them, but it's a lot. And we have da-dum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum. And after a while, it seems let's get a little bit hangala, a little bit awkward because we're always hearing the same. So actually, I think what is customary, or at least what I've considered to be customary, is sometimes I actually don't use the 16th note, but sometimes I'll do a 32nd note.
Yeah.
Ba-dum, ba-da-dum,
that's right.
Ba-da-dum. And then just depending on the feeling, you can stretch and pull a little bit more, just so that it's not, stick straight all the time, and you're coming out of that.
And when the funeral march theme appears on the right hand bar 39 40, magical moment, really is.
And the balance of the whole thing, you're only in mezzo piano here. And when I was learning this piece, my teacher Robert McDonald during my undergrad at Juilliard said, you've got such a long road ahead, and it's so easy for us. We've got these low F octaves, and we've got A flat octaves, and these big, pretty big chords already. Yeah. But it's only mezzo piano. So how do you keep this tension and everything building up And then even later on, he said, we don't even need a climax because you've already kind of brought us there, and yet we're still not even to the, off to the races yet.
That's right. If someone listening this is already frustrated about the fact that we have the sheet music in front of us, I have linked the sheet music with the episode. Just look there, and you can open it up as well if you want to read the piano score as we are doing. By the way, did you select the piece in Juilliard, or was it Mr. MacDonald?
No, it was suggested to me from a man who had studied with Horowitz for many years, was a child prodigy, and ended up, his name was Bill Smitty. He was an American. He played with Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops, and went all around the world, but took lessons with Horowitz. And he heard me when I was about 10 years old. And he thought that this would be a nice piece for me to pick up, but very, very demanding. And he said it would be something that I would be playing and developing my entire life.
Yeah.
Now this is actually the piece that I've probably played the most in my whole life, in almost all competitions, a lot of important concerts, because I feel like it's kind of fused with me. This piece. Did
he tell you any Horowitz stories?
Oh, too many.
Too many. Well, share one, and then in the end of the episode, if the cameras are still rolling, just give one.
Well, maybe not so many personal stories. I mean, what he did is he gave me every single copy of Horowitz in Vienna, Horowitz in Paris, Horowitz in Japan, and told me to watch all of them and to see what he was doing. And I think, this whole thing with this sound production was actually something that that Bill was able to mimic and help me with a little bit. This flutter pedal, it's kind of something that Horowitz did a lot, and how to strike the key. I think about the Scriabin D-sharp minor, the famous. How does he get that sound just so piercing? And and he had told Bill how to kind of do it, and Bill, this teacher, had a smaller hand, and so it was a little bit more difficult for him. But Scriabin is actually a little bit better for people who have smaller hands, unlike Rachmaninoff. So when he kind of helped me do that, and then my mom, when we would come back from the lesson, because he lived in New York and I was about 4 hours away, and she said, just play that Scriabin. I love that Scriabin. And I said, it's a little bit too difficult for me at the moment, but I can get at least the sound of the D sharp at the beginning is pretty good.
So Horowitz was kind of eager to tell his tricks, his secrets.
No, but he was he had these lessons with him. He was very, very young. And I think it was more actually his wife who was a little bit more... kind of running the show as well. And
Mrs. Toscanini.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess she had a little bit more warm, better relationship with this teacher and with my teacher. So he was a little bit closer with her, but he would come for the lessons, and he didn't have too much to say, but I think he really loved to show how amazing the sound was. And
that's right.
Bill was very good at mimicking, and so I tried to be as good as he was for Horowitz to mimic this wonderful sound that I heard and try to find different colors. And
I think Horowitz is one of the pianists that you need to see at some point.
Even if you don't believe in everything, but you still have to see all of the things that he made was possible.
Yeah. Well, thanks to YouTube, you can see him. There's a lot of stuff. My favorite is the return concert to Moscow. The Mozart C major and all that stuff. Magical. Lagrimoso, kind of a weird passage in this piece, but very nice.
I like it's a little bit of a break because you finally have this one section which is pretty much in major, and then the phrase ends and you actually have it again. Let's see,
in a different key?
Yeah, we're in a different key, but we don't go so much to minor. So it's the kind of the bright spot, and that develops into, as you guessed it, as you may think about the left hand starts da-dum, and then we have it again in the right hand. So this one starts with the right hand da-dum, da-dum, and then we have it full in the left hand with arpeggiated chords coming back. And that is the second place where it's very awkward to regulate the dynamics as well. And also, it's kind of the first, I actually loved that I had played this in my first lesson, because my teacher was all about the efficiency of our technique in order to make the sound that we want. And so that started me thinking about how do the hands actually need to move, at what speed, how high do I need. It's not about technically, it's not about actually restricting yourself, but it's just knowing, like a dancer has choreography. Same thing with pianists, and that's a lot about what I teach. If you're moving your hands up immediately, it takes a little bit more time to come down, and then you'll need more effort to come down, and then your sound will be, it will be stronger than you probably need it. So to be able to go dum ba 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 ba, that was really hard to get the quality of the little grace note before the F flat. It was really difficult. And then when I kind of got the hang of it, I felt like I was this kind of Goliath just kind of going along, and everything kind of felt like the grooves were aligning and the tension was kind of just pulled just right.
That's right. And then it takes a very surprising turn, bar 109.
Is it poco più mosso?
Yeah, più mosso. Let me show to the camera. The left hand is really active there.
This is like the Chopin Polonaise.
Yeah.
Polonaise.
Yeah, and the next page, 143, when the left hand is in octaves and it's really moving, that must be hard. I won't even try it.
On certain pianos, yeah, it's I guess anything could be really difficult on certain pianos. But if you get a really nice weighted bass, but not too hard of an action, this piece is a dream to play, because you really can just kind of pump out the sound and pump out the octaves.
Yeah.
But of course, if you focus on da 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 da, it's really more da 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 da. So in order to keep, you played heavy and then you lighten it up until you can actually feel that you're getting the sound out.
Yeah.
And it's not always on every single note. And sometimes I'll do this kind of da 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 da. So I'll have a little bit of a line there, even though it's so repetitive all the time.
And I guess the challenge is not to play the left hand too loud. Because
that was my was my problem also as well for a long time.
Yeah.
Because you really need to hear in the allegro energico aside, bum 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 bum, and you can't hear if it's going.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then pedal is a big issue as well.
Yeah.
And then it grows. This, what is this? Where the triplets start all the way up.
Yeah. In 3 octaves.
And that also needs to be
4
something
octaves,
which starts from fortissimo and somehow gets louder and louder and louder for 5 bars. So another kind of impossible task. That is it really fortissimo? Then we have to think about what is a bold, deep sound that is not maybe immediately, maxing out the speakers.
That's right. How many F words?
Yeah. How many Fs we have?
Yeah. And then the funeral theme again in F minor, and then in another key, which is kind of more difficult to say what key it really is. I'm saying F sharp minor. Beautiful. And then più lento.
The più lento is my favorite because it's just written dolcissimo. There's no dynamic marking, and I just try to play it this kind of crystal clear, as quiet as I can manage on the piano, so that the sound will reach everybody.
Yeah.
And then just to have just kind of the most angelic kind of thing that there could be, because then it kind of falls down, 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 and I think it gets heavier as it falls through these 8 measures. And then I actually have a little bit more of a lunga before the poco a poco più mosso. Da, bum, bum, bum.
And then 185.
And I don't start it at the full. Because it would be a little bit, so you can't just come out of that.
And now...
and then I really just take every sound out of the piano, and I don't really care so much about the pedaling. If it goes down, it's just... And it can be as messy as... I just think the sound, the overwhelming sound, is amazing. Until... Dum, ba-bum, bum, bum. So very much in tempo.
Yeah. He could have ended this in 3 Fs, also, in order to get a standing ovation and, items flying in the air. But it's a very modest ending. But I think overall this piece is a fantastic.
It's a tone poem, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's but it's one of those pieces that doesn't get played. Maybe we can talk about that later, about my love for pieces that don't get enough love.
Well, I mean, where would you put this in your recital? In the first half, or
I usually have it at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, now go think about what you did now. Come back after that.
But definitely not the ending of the concert.
No, sometimes I play this. I love to connect with keys. So if I have something, so sometimes I have. I play the Bartók Suite Opus 14, and that has a very strange, slow ending, and just the ending goes perfectly into this. And so sometimes I'll pair it as kind of we're getting out of this. Well, Bartók and Liszt, I mean, two Hungarian composers, and so it's actually a nice combination.
Yeah.
But this I don't really see. Okay, so we could definitely go right into the Beethoven Sonata from here, but that would be pretty.
Right. Yeah.
The
Same
comic
key.
relief would not be so great.
Same key. Just before that, tell me what kind of experiences from the audience side you have got playing the Liszt that nobody seems to know. I mean, are they excited to?
A lot of people cry. I mean, my mom cries every time she says, because it's one of her favorite pieces.
Okay.
But I really like that. Just a lot of people who don't come to classical concerts or have never been to one, if I'm doing something very casually at a kind of a house party with people that want to support an artist or something, and they're coming as sort of a friend of a friend, and a couple of people have really said that they've really never felt anything like the power of Liszt, and the emotional kind of journey that you can be taken on in just 12 minutes. I mean, that's an episode of SpongeBob. You got your 12 minutes, and so that's a short amount of time. You don't realize it until you play it, and then you kind of go on this journey in a very short time. And I love pieces like this. It's not. It's one story.
Yeah. Well, moving on to Ludwig. Number 1, Beethoven, Opus 54, Sonata in F major. A new piece for me. Also, I mean, I have the Sonata book. It's actually behind you.
If you open the book, though, you'll never land on it. Though the odds are just
that's
not
right.
in your
Because
favor.
I mean, because maybe it's because the opening it's so. Casual, it's like you feel that I'm not gonna get the audience with this one, but it's a really good piece. But you play this. How did you find it? Somebody recommended it?
So my teacher recommended it,
Okay.
and I actually heard someone else playing it, and it ended up being a student of my teacher. So of course, now I play it a lot, and I also have some students as well as here in Finland, and she plays it. So she actually got into a lot of schools playing this sonata.
Okay.
So I'm very proud, and I'm happy that I can kind of keep on this promoting this work. So it's right after the Waldstein and before the Appassionata.
That's right.
So it's kind of sandwiched into infinity, basically, or into the ground, and this piece is like, Beethoven mocking bad composers who couldn't write something longer than a phrase.
Yeah.
So you have the da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, da-dum, very basic, very standard. And it's not something that we would usually think about, something that maybe Beethoven would write. He would have something a little bit more heavy or just something a little bit more musically developing. It's very diatonic and straightforward.
Yeah.
And then what he does, the next line is he repeats the same thing.
Yeah.
And then he has a B, then he repeats the same thing. But one thing that I had struggled with when I was younger was, what a lot of teachers said about Beethoven is that you have to follow every marking first, and then you make your make your interpretation.
Yeah.
So actually you have da da dum, and then the left hand moves dum, but the F is held da da da.
That's right. Yeah.
So there is this lingering that actually does connect, but if you look at it da da da, you see that eighth rest, and you think, oh, I should pause, even though the F stays for the half note. And those are things that really can actually help you. The F changing to the G in the lowest in the bass.
Yeah.
That's also something that helps because you have the thirds. But he's kind of just making fun of bad composers and having this ABA that's not really. They don't even. He goes into this like I'm a pompous jerk here. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, that's what Emmanuel Ax, when I was studying with him for a little bit, he said, try to be be a pompous something else, but a pompous jerk. There's a lot of hubris in this
that's right.
B section.
Let me tell you my reaction when I started listing this last night. I was such a beautiful opening, something that Keith Jarrett would maybe start his improvisation, and then when we get to the octave part, I was like, is this really necessary?
I mean, and the second time.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's like, I realized that's why I'm not part of the Beethoven Facebook group. because well, you said pompous. That is, but he has these moments, and I was wondering, what is this long octave triplet thing? Why is it there? I mean, he could have, I don't know, but maybe, I mean, that's his trademark. Of course, it sounds great and it's genius, but Mozart would have written something light and funny with a little key change, and I
don't do my research too much on like why and how and what is the kind of the precedent for him doing something like this. Actually, not too much of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you can find it probably somewhere, some information. But I just think, when you see it on paper, it just looks so brutal.
Yes.
And, finding a way to, of course, then you think if this was played on a forte piano, it doesn't have the same effect as, playing on your Fazioli or playing on a Steinway in the concert hall. But so you have to shape, sforzanos. Is it really, are they all the same? Do they all mean the same thing? And that's something that I, of course, worked on with my teacher, and now I work on to find different, because a couple of students who play it, and also friends that I heard, it's a completely different piece when it's performed, just a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually one of those pieces that hasn't really caught on to Prokofiev 7, there's kind of one really good way to play it, and, Opus 110, and, Hammerklavier. I mean, there are so many kind of standard, Chopin ballade. There are so many things that we have to say that's tradition, that we play it this way.
Yeah.
But with this sonata, you have so much. You can play it da 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 if you want to, and that's all an interpretation on its own if you make it work.
Yeah. Maybe some pedal on the sforzando.
I do some pedal, and also I try to think of what kind of a sforzando is it. Is it a da 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 da, or is it kind of a more boomy, take the sound out, and that's what I think about this kind of verbose. Kind of connection with the
that's right
with the staccato,
and it's difficult but not too difficult.
It's difficult when it gets to the A flat section.
Yeah.
Some of those are a little bit da 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 da. When it goes down, it's a little bit awkward from the 1-3, 1-4, 1-5.
Yeah.
But as long as you follow the line, I think then you get it, because it's really easy. You're playing it and you miss, and then that note is way louder than the rest, and then it's very obvious to us that okay, it's technically difficult for this person, but then also then the music kind of stopped because we were taken out of the line. So
that's right.
There's a lot of duties in order to play it well, but also shape it well, so that we feel this.
And then he goes down, and he really loves this da 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 da. This.
And there's another joke. Just da 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 dum. Okay, now it's time to go back, but no, he makes it into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. At least an 11 bar recap.
Yeah.
To go back into the theme again, which comes back for a second time, and the whole genius element here is that he adds a little bit of an embellishment. So instead of going from 8th notes, he goes to 16th notes.
Yeah.
We have a shortened second section, and I love this part where he has, of course, I don't have the measure numbers, but we go pop, 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 pop. Then we have this chords of fortissimo. Pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And then the same thing in piano. So it's this for shock value and maybe some excitement. But this is definitely one of his more humorous pieces. There's nothing to take too seriously here.
That's right. And then he's just coloring the theme.
It gets difficult here with the 16th notes, the last variation.
Yeah. And these trills going up, this must be a hard bar.
Yeah, so I slow it down.
Let me show the camera. Here, we are high-tech here. This is how we share the music. Bar 40... No, this is a page number. But is it hard?
Oh, I have 407.
Yeah.
So what I do is when I start this whole thing, so maybe three lines up, it needs to be shaped well. Then when we get two bars later, then the left hand takes over the... it's the crescendo bar. Dum, ba bum, ba bum, bum, ba bum, ba bum, ba bum. Then we kind of go down this. It's like we're coming down the slide a little bit.
Yeah.
And from there, I expand a little bit so that it's not bum, 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 because that's impossible. And you also want it to be in the character of being shaped musically. So I have some kind of.
That's
so
right.
I'm sorry if I'm killing everybody's ears with my perfect singing, but it's not brum 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 because I don't think it's not the feel.
This
of it.
one thing. I can't. Where is it from?
I don't know, but my teacher, he said, my previous teacher, Alexander Korsantia, he said this last coda was like a hug for ending. He said the hug for world peace, for ending hunger, for everything.
Okay,
it's just this. It's this big hug that Beethoven is giving you.
Yeah, and these triplets, these very shocking chord. I mean, F on the bass, but then it's
he gives you a diminished chord, but and it's a little bit. He kind of hammers these triplets with fortissimo, and then it kind of fades away into good. But this sounds a little bit muddy.
And you play this on your concerts as well?
I play this in a lot of concerts.
Yeah.
Every competition I've been in, basically. And
really?
And I teach it to my students.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
First round Melemed.
Yeah.
As well as Funerailles.
Okay. So the judges in the competitions, they know it and probably appreciate.
Well, they don't know it as well.
Yeah.
And that's also something we can talk about. a nice tactic.
Yeah. All right. We agreed to talk only about the first part.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Okay.
The second movement is great as well.
Yeah,
it's written allegretto, but I played prestissimo.
Okay.
And I played it for one teacher, just a friend. Actually, my friend's teacher wasn't really giving me a lesson, but he's like, no, it must be allegretto. It's slower. And then it turns into like a 10-minute movement. I said, did you hear this from Beethoven? I mean, I think the movement is like 4 minutes with repeats.
You got mail from Beethoven. Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you something. I think there are many music students in Finland who are wondering about, should I stay in Finland or should I move abroad? But you moved here.
But I wasn't a music student at that time.
That's right. But I mean, many people think that, should I, in order to get my career going, should I be in London, Paris, Berlin, New York? But you moved here. I mean, so I guess you can live.
I'll leave a comment.
You can live anywhere you want.
Live. Yeah.
Well, what has it done to your career after you moved to Moscow?
And everyone, I thought
people check out Moscow. It's not really the center of the world.
I thought you said Moscow. Some people say, no, I'm not living in Moscow. Well, I did move to Moscow. I mean, after winning Melemed, which was 2017, at the time Melemed had offered a lot of prize money, which was really helpful. I paid off all my student loans. I was graduated debt free basically from all my studies, and I got concerts, but I got one concert from Piano Espoo from Paavola Jumpanen, his festival, and that was it in terms of concerts. Nowadays, Melemed is actually giving concerts with some orchestras. I think Vaasa, Kuopio, which is really, really nice. Kymi Sinfonietta. So Piotr has been playing there. And I think it's wonderful because it's nice to get to know the Finnish public as well.
Yeah.
And also the players. And that's been one of the highlights for me.
Yeah.
Having, won some competitions before and having kind of been almost out of school, Finland was a very attractive place for me because I was able to get concerts. I had decided to start learning Finnish, even though it was only kind of a joke. It grew into something a little bit more serious. So now I think I understand about 70% of what I hear versus when I moved to Moscow. When I moved to Moscow, only about 30%. Even though I had studied it for 3 years, I had all the books, I knew all 15 cases, all of those things.
Yeah.
But,
and what is your aim with the Finnish language? Are you aiming for kind of native Finnish speaking?
Eventually. I hope I want to use liene, every day a few times to use one of the hardest, some of the hardest forms of Finnish, all these Shakespearean kind of things.
Okay.
Sometimes it's fun that some people say something that they don't think maybe I don't know or don't understand. And then I say I say that I understand it, or I make a comment. And someone will be like, how do you know that? And I'm like, I'm trying to be Finnish here. I'm trying to be Finnish.
Yeah. I have the same system with German. They think that I don't understand at all, but I understand quite a lot. So.
And some of it's like music, like someone said something like Mosse. And I said, oh, you're talking about Erik Tavastjärna. And it's like, how do you know that? Like nicknames for people and stuff.
Mosse could also be the Moskvist's, the Soviet Union car.
Okay.
Yeah. It was the nickname for that.
That's funny. But it's been great because I wanted to have, especially during COVID. So the circumstances were that nothing was happening in New York. I was stuck in my apartment, and I wanted to go to Finland because I've been working with at Fatser concert management, and I had enough money to kind of qualify for the short-term visa.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to jump on that, and everything was closing. So about 2 weeks before. When right in the middle of March 2020, when everything closed, I had sent in my application, and I came to Finland in July, and it opened up so many doors because I could actually, of course, fulfill my concerts in Finland that I was supposed to be doing, because it wasn't hit so bad by COVID until 2021, and that wouldn't have been possible if I had stayed in the US. Of course, I couldn't get to Europe, but also just to network, meet, and play with other musicians outside of the circle that I had already kind of made for myself. Yeah. And I would only really want to live in New York if I went back to the States. And it also wasn't, for a quality of life comparison, I have an amazing life in Helsinki for kind of what I would pay to be 45 minutes away from Juilliard, which I couldn't even get into as an alumni to practice. So what was the point? I'll live in the Bronx for no reason. And so I've loved living here and, being cold and dark and
you gotta
having
love
concerts.
You gotta love it. It's already
We're getting there.
Almost dark.
We're getting
and
there.
Now you have a permanent visa?
So I have a 4-year visa from work.
Okay.
So I can write a book about how to deal with the officials of Migri, the migration office, as well as the Digiväestövirasto, so all of the getting your paperwork to establish your residence. And I actually corrected one person who was working at the police station because she given me the wrong information. I said, no, I already went there, and they told me I have to go here first. And she said, oh, you're right. So that helped me save a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Was it smooth? Was
for the
Finland
most part,
welcoming you? Or
bureaucratic, but once everything's pretty much available in English, and the few forms that were in Finnish I was able to do on my own. But I have been welcomed by so many people that I feel like, I've been very busy, and I'm also gone. I go to the States quite a lot. I'm actually going next week, but I love having my home base here. I think it's a great place to settle. And I'm from Massachusetts. It's cold. It's not as dark, but it's cold and dark. Yeah. And Finland is fine. And I go to Florida a couple times a year, and so that's that'll give me some break.
Beach and Botox.
Yeah.
Not for you.
I'm not thinking about it.
I'm very glad to hear that you feel welcomed by Finland, because there are some people who doesn't. But I think you've been you'll be fine here. And you have been active, you know, you have lots of concerts and stuff. What is the one thing that has surprised you the most about Finnish people or the way we live here? We have to ask because we love stories about ourselves. You know, a small country, miserable people.
Well, I think this, I don't know. I mean, I haven't been negatively shocked by anything. You know, when you read about Finland, they say, you know, the people don't really talk to you. But I mean, I haven't really encountered one unfriendly person here, or a person that hasn't actually offered to help me. So I think I'm maybe shocked by the misconception, because I think it probably has changed in the past 50 years or so.
It has, yeah.
You know, of course, you go some places where nobody speaks English, and it's kind of refreshing. And it's like when I used to visit my cousin in France, and she lived, you know, in central France, and so it was a huge city, but nobody spoke English, and so it was perfect for me. But it felt like, this is so strange. And I think even from when I visited Helsinki in 2016, it definitely feels a lot different in the fact that even my parents came for the first time outside the US, and they said, this doesn't actually seem so much different in terms of technology, in terms of the westernization, which, you know, might be maybe not such a positive thing for some people who actually want to keep some sense of Finnish, well, I don't know, what is this idea of what is Finnish? I don't know, I'm not Finnish, but some people might want to, you know, maybe kind of scrutinize that a little bit, that Finland has become almost so Western that it's, besides the buildings and everyone being, you know, a little bit taller and blonder than in New York, you know, what kind of place is this, and is it going in the right direction? But I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah,
having a good time.
Well, great to hear, and I agree. The non-speaking Finnish person, that's kind of, you know, belongs to the past. And Kaurismäki movies. I think those are the only ones.
I heard it was. I should probably see it.
Yeah, the new one. All right. I sometimes see you in the social media. You're practicing with the digipiano. I mean,
it's all I'm practicing with.
It's all you practice.
I mean, it's okay because it has a good action and everything. My Steinway's in New York. I just don't have the space for it.
It's still
my
in
apartment.
New York.
My apartment is 43 square meters.
So you can actually prepare for a piano recital or a gig with the orchestra with the digipiano.
Everything I've learned since coming to Moscow and then moving it to Helsinki when I got my apartment in 2021, I've learned everything on that keyboard.
Really? That's quite rare, I would say.
And it's actually easier to play on the piano once. It's not, well, there's no translation issue, you know. It's not like, what? How does it sound like? What's going on? Of course, maybe it's not ideal. I'm looking for houses. I'm looking for a house with a great room, like kind of like this. You know, maybe I should move in, but you know, people we can fit 2 Steinways here.
Offer him a house. You know, if you are in real estate, this man needs a house with a Steinway. What is it? A.
I have a B.
You have a B. Okay. Well, you don't need a big house for Steinway B. But
I don't want it to be so I could put my apartment. I was going to say I could put my apartment in my piano, but that's probably true because my piano is so big. I could put my piano in my apartment, but it would be my entire living room.
That's
and
right.
And then you live under the piano like who was it, Sirkin or one of those famous Richter. Somebody was sleeping under the piano.
Yeah. Well, but that's good news for some people who feel bad practicing with the digipiano. But you're playing concerts all over the world, and you do all your practicing, almost everything.
I mean, the action is the most important part. If it really feels, if it's something that's the key goes down very unrealistically, then also it's not doesn't feel like you're actually playing. It feels like you're just on like a toy piano that your grandmother has you to play for the neighbor's grandkids. Like
and what is your digipiano?
It's a Kawai CA78.
Are they sponsoring you?
No.
After this, they will. There will be a new Kawai at your door soon. I have a question about the piano recital here because I mean, it's been pretty much the same from the 1800s. You know, you have the...
In terms of none?
No, I mean, you have the program written, the piano recital. You have the program, and it's 45 minutes, 55 minutes, the first half, and the pianist plays a sonata or something and goes away and comes back, and there's an intermission, and then the second half. I'm just wondering that is this how it will be until the end of world, or do you see some urge to change it? Do you want to change it?
Sorry, first I thought you were asking about the recitals in Finland, because I think there should be more opportunities for piano recitals in Finland, because I think that's something that's
true too.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were starting with. No, for piano recitals, I mean, I definitely see, you know, you go to college, you go to a conservatory, and you have to learn some Bach, Beethoven, Haydn, Schumann, Scriabin, Rachmaninoff, and then some new piece that you probably don't want to learn, and you'll pick the best one. And then you might be the person that's all about modern music, and then, you know, you have to suffer through playing all these pieces until you graduate, and then you're like, well, I'm just going to focus on this thing now.
Yeah.
And that kind of defines, at the moment, what kind of recitals people are, you know, well, at least when we were still in school, you know, I'm going to start with my partita, and then I'm going to play my Beethoven sonata and play the Liszt Funerailles, and then afterwards I'm going to play a Prokofiev sonata, and I think that part of it is not going to change, because that's the curriculum of what you do as a student, and what teachers are, you know, kind of obliged to do for this well-rounded education, which I agree with, is great. But once you start making your career, I definitely think, you know, there's many ways. You know, you play in Carnegie Hall, you play one piece, you walk off stage, you come back. My recitals, actually, I don't walk off stage unless I'm, you know, like I don't bring water on stage. So unless, you know, I'm like choking, I need to get off stage. The worst thing that happens to me is I'll get sweat in my eye and I can't see for a little bit while I'm playing. Yeah. And that actually happened at the end of the chamber music round in Helsinki in the Milan competition. Really? I was like, Taya, I can't see, Taya. No,
okay. All right.
But it was at the end of the Dvorak quintet, and I'm just like, I hope it's all ease, so I didn't do it.
Yeah. How do you feel if somebody, I mean, we're talking about professionals now who has lots of repertoire. So how do you feel if somebody starts using like visual arts in the background of a piano recital? Would you watch that? I mean,
it depends. I mean, I think, so there are people who will go to a program if only... you know, if they see that the Waldstein and the Appassionata are on the program, they'll go. But if they see that Beethoven Opus 54, if they don't see their favorites, you know, it's the same thing with orchestra. Yeah. If you have a new piece and then they do Beethoven 5th Symphony or 9th Symphony, because then people will go to see what they love. Yeah. There are also these new kind of creations that I think we can have. So I think it's... Alice Sarah Ott, who just had, or I think she actually was a pianist that started to have this kind of audio-visual concert recital series. And she was also playing, and I think it was because she just has a CD of like Satie, Ravel, that kind of music. And I think if you can make it make sense, and you can also kind of have it as a whole that can move people and that can be interesting to people, and you're passionate about it, I say if you don't like it, then don't go. But if there's an audience for it, you might as well try, if that's something that you think. And also, we also need to make classical music accessible to people, and I think that there is room for people who want to see a concert at Carnegie Hall or anywhere, any big stage, and also not just those pianists to play those kinds of recitals. So I would love to play a recital like that. I would also love to play a recital that I'm also thinking about now, which would include discussion with the audience as well as talking about kind of what we're talking about now, why I'm learning the piece, what I think is really interesting, a story about it, maybe a little bit about how I practice it, how I get the sound. Yeah. To everyone, maybe to a first-time concert goer, that may be a little bit too technical, but you can also balance it. And, to people who've gone to see concerts might want to know more about how an artist practices. I think that would be something that's really interesting. It could be a new so there are many formats, and I think that the stigma now is that the people are kind of thinking that if you do one thing, you can't do the other thing because that would kind of disqualify you from being this kind of high-level artist.
Yeah.
Whereas I love to go into schools and play for kids, and that's a totally different repertoire. I grew up playing in senior centers, so I was playing music from the 40s and Broadway and all that stuff. And but I also love to play with orchestra, traditional Beethoven or Rachmaninoff, or I'm commissioning pieces now, and I'm trying to play new music for people. So I think we have to do everything that makes us passionate about what we're doing, and don't do the other stuff because we feel forced.
Yeah.
But we should be able to have all of those formats, different formats of classical music.
Yeah.
Just depending on who's going to be there, who our market is. Because I think that everything we do is valid. We just we have to cater it as well and keep our own musical integrity while we do it.
Of course. I would get rid of the paper, the program, and especially those long and boring curriculums.
They've done that in a couple of places, and a lot of people said, I don't like going on my phone because there's no service in the concert hall. So how can we load the e-booklet when we can't read it? And then, those people trying to read it, and then their alarm goes off, and then, they should do away with the candies, though. All candies must be unwrapped. I just can't understand how it's still, still
Actually,
going on.
I would get rid of the program entirely. Let the pianist present a little bit of himself or herself and the pieces. Not too long, But
you don't know who's playing or what. Then how do you sell tickets?
But of course, in the marketing,
Yuja had these programs to be decided because even she didn't know what she was going to play for her, 15 encores. But that's a thing in its own.
Well, tell me about your CD project you are recording.
So I've always, people have always said, Mackenzie, I want to buy one of your CDs. And, I'm like, I'm really trying to, make something really professional, have a label, and then you have to buy the CD. I don't make money from my own CDs unless that's kind of a separate contract. But I really wanted to make a CD. So I was thinking for a long time about what's my musical identity and how do I figure out what to do to package that into 70 minutes of music that really defines me after 28 years, 25 years of playing piano at least. And so I'm doing 3 commissions and pairing them with 3 pieces that are really close to my heart. So I have a Bach Prelude and Fugue, B-flat minor from Book 1, which has the 5-voice fugue.
Yeah.
I think it's the only 5-voice fugue. And it was a piece that's way too mature for when I had started learning it when I was 13.
Yeah.
And that's another piece that grew with me.
Yeah.
So Stephen Hough, the British pianist, Sir Stephen Hough, has written a fantastic prelude and fugue for me. And the fugue is based on my last name, Melemed. So it's me, E, la, E, me, E, D, or Ray.
It's great.
La 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 la, and it's a really nice piece, and it's all white keys until the end when he throws in the black keys, and so I have that, and I'm also doing. I have a Funerailles, so the list will be featured on the CD, of course, one of the most important pieces for me. And this American composer, Laura Kaminsky, will be writing a fantasy elegy to kind of go along with that. And I'm sure that will be a commentary on the present times as well. I mean, even since I talked to her about 8 months ago when we discussed this, the world has changed again. So I'm sure that she always writes very relevant music to today and culture. And then I have this Brahms Schumann variations, which I love very much. They are mostly very much intimate, inner-looking works with a lot of, as well as a lot of fireworks and stuff that I love. And Brahms is especially tricky. Yeah. But this piece I was asked to play on very short notice at a festival in Korea where they were talking about Schumann and Clara Schumann and Brahms and this trio and this friendship. Yeah. And this was a piece that I had heard maybe once, but not really ever given any thought to. And it kind of goes along with my idea of playing pieces that don't get the love that they should.
Yeah.
And Avner Dorman, who is an Israeli-American composer who has, I played his music a lot for commissioned works and competitions. And I commissioned a piano concerto from him over the pandemic, which got its premiere, and we did it here in Finland. And next month, or in February, we're doing it in Warsaw and then in Canada. So I'm thrilled that he's going to write a piece to kind of theme and variations, which I know as well will be based on also probably the current current happenings as well in Israel and Palestine. So in Gaza. So it will be a heavy program of music that I really love, and I think very passionate music from composers and pianists that I have worked with personally. I think it's really nice that they also know my playing and writing for me, as well as me wanting to play their music and having loved the music that they've written. Steven's written a lot of pieces for the Clyburn, for the Naumburg Prize, and so it's really special that he hasn't written so much music that he agreed to write something for me. So.
And when will we hear this?
So, Steven was really ahead of schedule, but he also had the shortest piece to write, and he was very excited about writing it. So that's already done, but they should be done by the end of next year is kind of the deadline, because Avner and Laura have a lot of commissions currently. Okay. And then I figure that it will take me, the latter part of a year to finish learning them and preparing them for the CD. So I'm hoping in 2026 that they will. 2026.
Yeah.
So
And
buy your 3-year Outlook calendar.
That's right. That's right. Will it be your first release?
It will be my first release of a solo release. I mean, I have 3 recordings, 1 solo, and then 2. One's also coming, the world premiere. Commissioning recording of the Dorman Concerto, as well as this other concerto I did with a South Korean composer, and we did that actually with Ralph Guttoni conducting.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Symphony of
in
Varsovia.
South Korea.
We recorded it in South Korea, went on tour with it in Poland, and it was released, and with the Finnish conductor and an American pianist.
Wow. So. And do you have the Karajan dream? Will you crap the baton at some point? No pun intended.
No, I don't. A lot of people said okay, so I myself actually would be interested in doing it, conducting, because sometimes there are just things that I think maybe I want. It's not even that I want to conduct, but there are things that I want to say to the orchestra when I'm working with them.
And
sometimes you can't say that, and it just depends. And I think maybe I'm just a pianist who really, I don't know, maybe I can articulate a little bit differently when it comes to piano music.
Yeah.
But you work with a great conductor who's maybe done this piece hundreds of times, and they pick up on those things.
Okay.
And, I mean.
If you do it, you would primarily conduct your own piano concerto concerts. You don't have the symphonic dream.
Maybe. I mean, I heard Mahler 1 during this tour in Poland, and I thought, well, I've heard it so many times, maybe I can just get up and do it. I love it. Or Brahms 1. So some pieces would be just for fun, like a dream.
Yeah.
But I don't think I would have. I don't think I'd have such a fun time doing some of the other crazy music.
Okay. and when you have the urge to say something to the orchestra in the rehearsals, you swallow it. You don't say it, or do you sometimes say it?
I try to frame it always so that it's something that will benefit the yhteistyö, the cooperation.
Yeah, okay. And it's easier word in Finnish.
Yeah, cooperation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes if I think that maybe someone is lagging a little bit behind, I say, well, my line really goes forward.
Yeah.
And I really want to be able to go forward to this bar so that we can really arrive here. And I think that kind of settles it. Because then it makes more sense.
And overall, pianists would like to go forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our... Yeah. Okay. Have the world become a better or worse place during your lifetime?
During my lifetime, during my few years in Finland. I mean, overall, I think probably we're in a worse situation. Definitely overall. I think so much stuff is good, but with everything that's going on, it's not leading. The history is always going to be repeating, and especially I think there was a lot of progress that people were trying to make, especially with global warming and things that have really just kind of turned around, and all this progress is going in the opposite direction. But it's really hard to quantify and qualify every single thing. And I think as long as we can we can do our job to make those dark days like we have in Finland for 4 months, a little bit brighter. And so we keep doing our thing, and we can't change the world. I mean, we can we can't change everything that we would like to change. We can do our best to change what we can and to help tip the scales to the positive side.
All right.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think it's I don't know. I'm a little negative on it because it's just one thing after another.
No, I think
it's
realistic,
really
very realistic. What really pisses you off?
Bad drivers.
Bad drivers?
Yeah. I'm from Massachusetts and I love to drive. Well, Finnish drivers are safe, but just sometimes they have just no idea what they're doing. Just
you mean you're in a taxi or you're...
I drive a lot because I sometimes rent cars. I want a car. I've never actually had to own a car, which is great. It's saved me, thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
Living in Helsinki, it's so small. But yeah, the drivers are really... I don't know. I have just a thing about drivers. I just want to get to my place. If you're in the left lane, you don't go under the speed limit. You don't do it. I'm not a road rager, but...
no middle finger out of the window.
No. Not too much. But Massachusetts drivers are well known, renowned for our good driving and aggressive driving, and our spirit of getting a little.
Not even mentioning the cab drivers in New York.
No, they don't have anything on us. New York drivers are a different kind of. They're bad. They're bad drivers. We're good drivers here.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts anyway.
Okay. What happens to you after you die?
Nothing.
What is nothing? Okay.
And I hope if it's nothing that we're just not aware of it. It's just that's it. Because we have no awareness of what happened before. For the most part. I mean, I don't think anyone knows about their past lives in if there were to be any in any detail. And so, I barely remember from when I was 3, and I was alive for 3 years. So
that's right.
It's tough to come to terms with it, and I do think about it once in a while.
Yeah,
like just before I'm asleep, and I'm like, why did I have to somehow start thinking about that? Because
I think
tough.
Once a day is healthy to think about it.
I'm 28, and that's like 1/3 already through a pretty decent, maybe even more than a decent lifetime.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe the last 10 years have gone slower than I think than the rest of my life, but. It's tough. I wouldn't want to live forever in a body that doesn't work. But,
until you enter the years where a year goes by in a second, but one day takes forever. That's what they say when you get really old. I have one extra question. What's going to happen in US next year? Are you voting for Biden or Trump?
I mean, I vote for Biden, but...
what do you think will happen?
It would be nice if there was some other option.
I think there's not enough time.
Well, it's lovely we're in Finland, and then they're going to maybe focus really on Kamala. Kamala Harris. Kamala,
really?
So vice president whose name means horrible.
It's horrible in Finnish.
Yeah, Kamala.
Yeah. She would never make it in Finnish politics.
Kamala. Well, who knows? Finnish politics are so horrible too that we could. She could be first place. Kamala.
That's right.
Vote Kamala.
Vote Kamala. Well, thank you. Yeah. Is there something else you want to share with us?
No, I would have to say that the first big festival that I was invited to after coming to Finland was Sysmän Suvisoitto, where I met you with
That's right.
And it was hilarious because I bet I would have laughed so much more if I could have understood your Finnish calendar, all the jokes and everything. But everybody was laughing, and I'm sitting there like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I don't understand Finnish. I'm in this small town in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Finland, and I can't understand. I understood one joke, and I laughed, but I was so ashamed. But then I came up and had to say hi to you.
That's right. I remember.
And it started a really nice friendship.
I remember that. Yeah, and I was actually surprised. That was one of my first gigs with that program in Finland. And it's very ironic towards the Finnish way of living through the years. So
and you had audiovisual as well, I remember.
Yeah. But it's mainly done for the German audience, where's my main work. So I was really surprised that the self-irony caught up. So it was a happy evening for me. It was a day concert, I think.
Yes.
Well, it was, yeah. That's where we met. And,
Kiitos, Iiro.
Kiitos.
Thank you.
Kiitos. Thanks for coming. Thanks for doing this. And remember to subscribe, comment, whatever, and see you next time.